Welcome to the Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers of Washington in this monthly author showcase. I'm your host, Mark Miller. Today I have the distinct pleasure to interview a friend and fellow film creative, Jon Palms. Jon is an actor, screenwriter, filmmaker, and seasonal Santa Claus. As part of full disclosure, his wife Sarah Palms does an excellent job of preparing the Miller taxes. We met at the Tacoma Filmmakers over 2 years ago. I've followed his creative career ever since. Jon, glad you could make it here.
Thank you.
So we start with the standard question we always ask everybody who comes here to the Claw hot seat. How did you first get the creative bug? Did you begin as an actor, writer, filmmaker first?
I actually began as an extra, and it kind of snowballed from there. They said I did a great job, and then I just started getting asked to more sets, and then I joined the Tacoma Filmmakers, and then from there, someone asked me to join the screenwriters as a reader of scripts, and I started doing that, and they asked me to bring in a script, and that's when I started writing.
What made you decide to go to that first extras call?
That's actually a funny story. I saw a low-budget feature film out in Chicago, and when I moved out here, I really enjoyed that film, and I moved out here. I met my now wife, Sarah, and she asked me if I'd ever seen the film, and I said yes, and she said, well, I'm friends with all of them. We went to college together, and they need extras for the third film in the series, and so I'm actually all over the place in that film.
And which film was that?
It is called The Gamer's Hands of Fate.
Oh, okay.
It's a low-budget film. The original film was actually filmed at PLU, Pacific Lutheran.
Cool. So that was probably your first roles. And
Yes.
what would have been some of your follow-on roles, and to a certain extent, how do you kind of pick your roles if you're going to, as part of the acting thing?
How I pick my roles is people come up to me and say, "Hey, I have this part. Can you play it?"
Okay.
So I've tried auditioning. Auditioning is extremely hard, and I've gotten a few parts out of auditioning, but most of the time it's usually people know me from other sets, and they say, "Hey, can you play this part?" And like, okay.
And recently, you were even the Grim Reaper.
Yes.
In a film that they're editing as we speak, a short.
Yes, that one was a lot of fun. I did my first stunt work on that one.
Oh.
There's a scene where the main character jumps in a car and tries to drive away, and I run up behind and jump on the back of the SUV and pretty much hang on for dear life as he's rounding a corner.
Was Abby the one driving on that?
No, actually Daryl was.
Oh,
Daryl Robert Small.
Daryl's going to be interviewed later today, by the way. So Daryl was actually the driver on that.
Yes.
Oh.
I had him running for his life.
Oh. And I did my one and only little acting debut in a part as Guido on the I-5 project, and I was with you and everything. So why don't you kind of tell the audience about how that came about?
Our friend Mark Robine, he came up with this short script for the I-5 project about a couple of gangsters driving down the road, and they decide to stop at a rest stop and get some coffee, and you know, being some nice gangsters, we decided to ask the person we had locked in the trunk if he wanted anything as well. And that's pretty much all that's in that film.
And everybody laughs because it's a low car, and I'm trying to get my fat body out of the car.
I wasn't going to say anything.
That's okay. That was the one, apparently, the one comic vignette part of that where I wind up trying to get out of the car, and apparently everybody who watches it laughs. So I got to laugh. You mentioned that you went to the screenwriters group. It's also affiliated with the Tacoma Filmmakers. And then somebody mentioned, well, why don't you try writing a screenplay? And I remember when you brought some of them, when you read them and everything, and I believe you sold one of them.
Well, I used one of them to get commissioned to write for a series that I even signed a contract. It was I was actually getting paid more than Quentin Tarantino did on his first script.
No, well, how much did Quentin get paid?
He got paid, I think it was $100 for his first
Oh,
script,
yeah?
and I was getting paid $500 per
Oh,
script.
cool.
And so I got hired to write 2 episodes for a series. I got 1.5 of them written before the series went on hiatus, and I don't know what's going on with that right now.
Yeah. That's something that I think, especially in independent film, that anybody who gets involved with, you wind up facing, is because we're not Hollywood, so we don't have these big, huge budgets. Everybody's trying to, quite often, fly by the seat of their pants, and so they're trying to make film as they go along. And so everybody gets hammered by the hiatus bug.
Yeah.
And so then you wind up.
Budget is a killer of many films.
Exactly. And I've seen some of that series you were in, if I remember rightly. It was a kind of a zombie series, but from a young, was it 8 or 10-year-old girl's
Yes,
perspective.
from the perspective of this 8-year-old girl. It was basically, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it was basically a bunch of, each episode was a different story.
Right.
That this little girl was involved in some way, shape, or form. So she was just the catalyst that brought each story together to make it one full series.
It was like there was an old series called The Fugitive. David Jansen, he was the guy running from the cops, and so he was involved with every single story. He was a connecting story, but the story was always about some other main characters doing stuff.
Stephen King did a movie called Cat's Eye. It was kind of similar to that.
Okay,
so the little girl in that one, there's a cat that's in every little episode,
That's
and so basically the little girl is like that cat. Yeah.
Is there any specific film genre or type that you enjoy writing the most?
I like to enjoy. I enjoy writing comedy series. Comedy shows and stuff like that. They seem to flow easier, and I find that comedy has rewatchability. You see big budget films that are, like dramatic and they're really good, and they win lots of awards and everything like that. But usually those, you watch it once and you're done. Comedy series, if you want a good laugh, you could throw in the same one, over and over again. And I really enjoy watching them. Comedy usually stands the test of time, too.
Well, I seem to remember you wrote a science fiction comedy.
That was my first script.
That was your first script. I remember reading that, and you, like you said, a lot of laughs. I enjoyed it, and because you took a lot of the stereotypes of science fiction and turned them on its head.
Yeah.
And made everybody laugh. And if I remember rightly, you had some Star Wars and Star Trek stuff in there and all that other jazz.
There wasn't any Star Wars or Star Trek. That was actually a different script that I wrote. I had written a script that was actually who would win in a battle between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But in this one, it was, there was alien species that were coming down, and they were trying to find really just dreamers, and they would make mistakes using like GPS, and GPS would give them the wrong location, and so they would end up picking up like hillbillies and stuff like that, and that's why they would bring them back and just drop them off, and that's why you've got all these hillbillies, saying all these stories about abduction and things that happened to them, and it was just really the aliens picking up the wrong people. As in, I also drive for Uber. I've done that, a couple of times.
Pick up the wrong person.
Pick up the wrong person, and it turns, it creates an interesting story.
One of the shorts that you helped produce and also acted in, which was even shown at the Dragonfly Film Festival they had last year, and I think should have won an award, but I guess I'm prejudiced. It was called Date Night, and I saw that and I laughed my complete buns off, and we're going to try to, if we can, at least show part of it as part of this episode, if I can figure out how to edit it in there with my limited ability. How did that come about?
Well, how Date Night came about, the person that produced Gamer's Hands of Fate, he had contacted me and he said, I'm looking for scripts, short 5 to 10 minute scripts that are funny and have some kind of a nerdy twist. So I spent about 10 minutes and I wrote this script. And I sent it to him and he loved it. And he said, I can't use it though because too many scenes. This particular script has, I want to say it's like 8 or 9 different scenes. It's a bunch of different scenes, which is a lot for a short script. And the more scenes you have, the bigger the budget becomes.
Of course,
and we all know about budget. So he couldn't use it, but I already had this script written, and somebody else wanted to do the script, and then that person and we had a falling out, and finally I was like, you know what, why don't I direct it myself and produce it? And so we spent a couple of days, we filmed it, and I was surprised how well it came out, you know.
I mentioned it online already. That was about 8 minutes long.
It's 8 minutes long, yes.
8 minutes long. That is one of the best 8-minute long films I've ever seen.
Thank you.
And I was laughing my butt off all the way through. I'm not going to give away, there's one scene there that if anybody watches it, they're going to be rolling on the floor, because you grab somebody who is more of a screenwriter and said, hey, we need you as the actor, and he pulled it off. It was hilarious. And I still think that should have won a prize at the Dragonfly Theater Independent Film Competition 2019.
I actually went to the in Gig Harbor, the film festival in Gig Harbor, where it was first aired, and there was like 5 films before it and about like another 5 films after it, and they're all really dark, dramatic films. And then there's this film, and the audience is the best part about it was watching the audience just laugh at all the right spots and laugh at spots that I didn't even realize were funny. So, and so that made me feel good. I felt better about that than winning an award, you know, because like I said, awards are given out to like dramatic and films, but this one is one, I watched it again the other day and it made me laugh.
I went to the first Dragonfly little independent film thing in 2017, and the odd thing about that was they had these films from Europe, and you look at them and you go, wait a minute, that looks like it was done on a professional stage and everything. Finds out that over there, a lot of these so-called independent films are supported by the state, and they'll actually give quote-unquote independent film people money to make these films, and then these people can take it and bring them over here and enter them into film competitions and conventions and stuff like that. And I made the comment to the Dragonfly, there ought to be a division. People that actually do it by the seat of their pants, and then people that are actually coming in from a country where they actually give them money to do it.
And the problem with that is a lot of the programs and stuff, the phone, even telephone, the cell phones that people have, the quality. You can get some really good quality out of the cheapest equipment out there and make it look like a professional did it on a sound stage. But yeah, there is a lot of incentive to film in different areas given by the state or city, or I mean, here in Washington, there's only very little film incentive to film out here, and up until recently, that was all being used by Z Nation, which is a sci-fi. It's on the Sci-Fi Channel, and but like if you watch any big budget films that come out now, like all the Marvel movies, anything really, they all have that Georgia peach at the end, because they're all filmed out in Georgia, because Georgia gives huge incentives for filming, and it really does help. I mean, you can go to Georgia and probably get some of those incentives
Right.
to do your low budget film. Out here, there's just no incentives.
And that's one of our, that's, to put it really bluntly, that's one of my little rants, is that I don't understand how we are in a state that prides itself on this being forward thinking and for the arts and everything, but the whole system that got set up to support the arts is like you said, they pick one person, they go, okay, here's all the money,
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it really is. If you want to do a really good quality film, you either got to know a lot and be able to use the what's available,
Yeah,
or you got to have money and pay for the good stuff.
right.
And unfortunately, money usually wins out.
Exactly. If you could have a dream role as an actor, I mean, flipping back to being on the other side of the camera again, what would it be?
I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. I have been since a really early age. And especially in the recent incarnations of the Star Wars universe, there's a lot of cameos of famous actors and stuff that do a bit part in those films, like in not Rogue One, Episode 7.
Right.
There's Daniel Craig was in that one. Daniel Craig is he's the current incarnation of James Bond,
Right.
and he plays a stormtrooper
Oh.
that kind of teases Rey while she's tied up in an interrogation
Yeah.
room, and then of course she mind controls him and gets out. But
Cool.
yeah, so I would love to get a walk-on role in one of those films, just to be like, hey, I'm in Star Wars, because I would love a bigger part, but even just
Yeah.
a small part, just to be part of that universe, even an extra, stormtrooper number 565, way off in the corner there. See that speck? That's me.
So you're definitely a Star Wars person, not a Star Trek person.
I do like Star Wars and I like Star Trek. I more like the Star Trek movies over the film, over the series. And these Star Trek series was a lot more political
Right.
oriented, whereas the Star Wars films are more action oriented. I'm more of an action person. The politics, standing around and a lot of talking and diplomacy, stuff like that. And that might be why the first three, episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars failed so bad, is because there was just nothing but diplomacy in those.
Yeah.
All about, the different hierarchies and stuff like that. And maybe that's why the action was taken away. In episode 3, they brought back some of that action, and that's why episode 3 of the first 3 is my favorite, because there is a lot more action in them. And that's the difference, I think, is between Star Trek and Star Wars. I do have a theory about Star Wars that links it to Star Trek.
What's that?
And that's the Millennium Falcon, which is the main ship
Yeah.
that Han Solo. If you look at Spock's famous greeting, "Live long and prosper,"
Right.
and you put it on its side, it's the Millennium Falcon. That's my theory. It looks more like the Millennium. It looks more like "Live long and prosper" than it does a hamburger with an olive in it.
Yeah.
It's just a theory.
Actually, it sounds like a good theory. Would you like to share any advice or share any misadventures you had in acting in the film world?
Oh, misadventures and advice: bring extra batteries. Plan ahead. Bring extra batteries. Bring chargers. It really. Feed everyone. Food is a big thing. I mean, I've been on some sets where, closed sets where you're on there for 18 hours a day, and there's no food available to people, especially people that are working for free. And it causes tension. And people don't, if they're hungry, they don't work as well. If people are well fed, things go a lot smoother, you know. And it's a lot cheaper to feed people than you think it is, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You can spend, you know, $100 and feed a crew of like 25 people. It's not hard.
Yeah.
So feed people and bring extra batteries. We were on a set that we had one battery, and we had to stop every 5 minutes to charge the battery for a half hour to do another 5 minutes of filming. It was caused havoc.
And how long have you been doing Santa Claus?
I've been doing Santa Claus now for 4 years. My wife's dad was Santa Claus for many years. He was a Jewish Santa Claus, and I know that sounds kind of weird, but he did it at places like the Children's Hospital, the YMCA, for friends and family, kids that couldn't get out. He would go visit them. He would do it at concerts and stuff like that. So when he passed away, everyone came up to me and said, "You're the new Santa, right?" And how can I turn that down? So I've been doing that now for 4 years, and it's been a lot of fun.
And then, of course, your wife Sarah is Mrs. Claus.
She's been Mrs. Claus now for 2 years, and she really enjoys it.
Yeah.
I actually have a funny story about that. Are you familiar with Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Sylvester McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
Last year, we were at a convention that Sylvester McCoy was at, and my wife was standing in the doorway, and she had my basket of candy canes.
Oh,
and it had like little Hershey's Kisses and stuff in there as well.
Right.
And I'm off just wandering around taking photos and stuff like that. And this old guy walks up to her and points behind her and says, "What's that over there?" And then reaches into the basket to grab some candy. And she goes, "Oh, you can just have a piece of candy." He goes, "Oh, you're no fun."
Yeah.
And so she goes, "What? Over where?" And then he grabs a handful of candy and wanders off. And then somebody comes up to her and goes, "You know who that was?" And she goes, like, "I have no idea." And she goes, "Well, that was Sylvester McCoy." And so I came up to her and she's like, "Well, Sylvester McCoy just stole a bunch of candy from me."
Yeah.
She told me what happened.
Yeah.
So I had to go over and put Sylvester McCoy on the naughty list. So yes, Doctor Who is on the naughty list. Nobody's safe from that naughty list.
Sylvester McCoy was one of the most unappreciative Doctor Who. It was right at the end when the series went on hiatus, and then they brought it back to this highly successful version they have now. But he, like I said, he and his cohort Ace were probably like two of the most unappreciative but yet better done Doctor Who's that in my opinion. And I'm not a big Whovian, but I really enjoyed them.
Well, he brings something special to every role that he's done. He played Radagast the Brown in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
That was very special. And he also played a bit part in a series on Netflix called Sense8. And that just brought the humor level of that series up a bit too. He does an amazing job with what he does.
Do you have any future projects you want to talk about?
Have any which one?
Future projects.
Future projects. Yeah. I do. I am working on a series right now called Ominionated, The Misadventures of Brad Guy. Basically in a world full of superheroes and supervillains, who's looking after the little guy. Have you ever watched a movie, a superhero movie or show, and you've got the superhero and you've got the supervillain, and then the supervillain's got all these little henchmen working for him. And those henchmen, they just die or get beat up, and there's no backstory to them. Have you ever wondered what the backstory is to them? That's what this series is. It gives a backstory to one of these henchmen. His name is Brad Guy. He's Brad Guy the bad guy. I did that on purpose. And it gives. I gave him an ex-wife, a girlfriend, a child. He's got a best friend. He's got money problems, things like having to be unemployed because the supervillain he's working for gets thrown in jail for some reason. So there's all these real life conflicts that everyone else has, but his thing is that he's a henchman. He does it professionally. I even have a scene where it's career day at his daughter's school, and he has to go in and talk about his career as being a henchman. And so, yeah, just little things. It's basically kind of like a sitcom,
Yeah.
a little bit raunchy, a little bit slapsticky. I'm throwing in some elements of the 1960s Batman series into it, like similar fight scenes with the overacting and the superimposed pow, biff, bam, boom, stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It was originally going to be a 5-minute episodes, and now there's talk about doing it as half-hour episodes, and we're going to try and actually pitch it and get it either on like Netflix or Hulu or something like that, Amazon Prime. We don't know.
I'd watch it. And if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, do you have like any websites? I know you're on Facebook.
I am on Facebook. Some of my work can be found on I have a YouTube channel that I just started. It's Giant Troll 2 Productions.
Okay.
Other than that, word of mouth.
Okay.
You find me on Facebook. You can catch me driving around in the Tacoma area or around here even. If you find me, it's like finding Waldo, I guess.
And of course, if you want your taxes done right, get a hold of his wife.
Yes.
We'd like to really thank you, John, for coming here today at the BCAT Studios.
Well, thank you for having
me.
me.
And I really hope to see your name bouncing around in the big lights, like they say, and everything like that.
Hopefully, it's not wanted.
No wanted posters, yeah, just something where somebody's trying to sell a movie. Any last minute thing you'd like to add to the viewing public?
If you see one of those bouncing lights with my name on it, please buy the movie.
There we go. And once again, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
For having you. Okay. I would like to thank all of our viewers for tuning into Bremerton Kitsap Access Television and viewing this Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers production. I also wish to thank the BCAT staff on cameras and in the director's chair. They worked to make this broadcast a success, which without them it would not be a success. This broadcast interview is scheduled for February at 6 p.m. every Saturday evening on Channel 3 on Wave Cable or Channel 12 on Comcast. Keep in touch with our Facebook pages for updates on what Kitsap author we will be interviewing in the future, in addition to events the authors will attend in the community. We at CLAW have as a mission statement to help authors and artists become known to the public, to expose their artistic endeavors to the residents of Kitsap County and to the world. Thus, we plan to continue this endeavor as long as the BCAT staff and the viewing public support us. CLAW exists for the artists, the authors, to help with marketing, distribution, publicity. We meet the first and third Wednesdays of every month at the Spiro's Pizza on Kitsap Way in Bremerton, Washington at 7 p.m. All are welcome. Also, for filmmakers and actors, we have a related group, Kitsap Peninsula Filmmakers, which meets at the second Tuesday of every month at the Family Pancake House on Wheaton Way in Bremerton, also at 7 p.m. Everyone is also welcome there. We are not the only group out there. There are many independent writers and critique groups in Western Washington. Vincent at 724 Studios on 724 Bay Street in Port Orchard is not only showcasing painters, but also sponsoring local authors reading their works. Also, the Blue Forge Group, which encompasses films, publishing, comics, music, and artwork, is a strong supporter of the arts in the Kitsap County. Part of the group, Blue Forge Films, is assisting in moving many of Claude's shows to YouTube and other internet sites. Blue Forge has been instrumental in helping me and others in publishing their works. I hope everyone has a pleasant day and a productive and fascinating year. Until next time, I am Mark Miller with Kitsap Literary Artists and Writers in conjunction with Bremerton Kitsap Access Television. Good day.
Mom, you look so beautiful. I know you haven't been on a date in a while, but you are going to knock him dead.
Oh, thank you, honey. You really think so?
Just try not to act like yourself. And have fun.
Thanks. I'll take that advice.
Dad, it's been a long time since you've been on a date. Where are you taking her?
I heard about this new restaurant downtown. It's supposed to be really fancy.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Are you gonna be out late?
Well, let me put it this way. Don't wait up for me.
Gross.
Come on in. The door's open.
You look amazing.
Thank you. They're beautiful. Let me get some water for them.
Is it a date?
Let's get out of here. Let's go do something crazy.
What'd you have in mind?
I've got a better idea.
I've got an idea.
Hey kids, what are you doing? You're not kids. Run. They don't pay me enough to run after people.
I have an idea.
Yes,
You're on that corner.
right there.
Oh, yeah, faster, faster,
Just a little further.
faster.
Yes, just a little further.
I'm almost there. Come on.
Got it.
Come on.
Right there.
I'm almost there. Who's your daddy? Come on.
Oh man, no!
Yeah, take that, princess. You drive like a girl.
Mom and Dad are so weird.
I know, right?
You said it was hurt. You lied to me. Oh God.
Ooh, ice cream.
When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. When I grow up, I want to be the first woman on Mars. Can I go with you?
Hey, Dad. What are we gonna do today?
Yeah, what are we doing today?
Ground control to Dreamer. Come in.
Ground control, this is Dreamer.
Your first objective is to pick up an astronaut at the International Space Station.
A real astronaut? I had an amazing dream last night. Me too.
You girls could be astronauts someday. For now, let me take you on a journey.
So, you think he's guilty?
Oh, he's guilty of sin. Wish me luck.
Duck.
Oh, finally, somebody's here. What the hell am I doing here?
You know what you did. Do you think you can get away with it?
With what?
Why did you do it? You stole from these people. We have witnesses. You didn't steal the minute it took to watch this film?